Hi, this is Michael Uslan. You're watching Batman on film.
Hey now, I should do better than that. Hey now, welcome to the 63rd episode of the Batman on Film blog. I am the founder of Batman on Film, Bill, Jett, Ramey, and with me again is my co-host Garret Grev. Garret. GG.
My,
Garret, how you doing, sir?
that's the football coach in you coming
Yeah,
out,
it
calling me
is.
by the last name.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm good, man. I had a great weekend. Just sort of relaxing. It was a little bit rainy in Minnesota for the consummate quick weather update at the top of the show.
Yeah.
And
Yes. Yeah.
glad to get into talking about Batman with you again.
Oh, well, it's been a little while since the last time we did a show, wasn't it? That's been, I don't know, back in
Three weeks, maybe
probably
4 weeks?
so. Yeah, it's been a little while. Of course, it's not like news isn't just bursting at the seams
Right.
when it comes to anything Batman, because there's like no comics. But that's going to change in June. We're finally going to get some comics back. We'll get hopefully get the review, and we'll get the review start going. But hopefully that pans out that's the plan with DC. They have a whole lineup for June, which is great.
Yeah, that's exciting to see. I know there's a lot of people have been anxiously waiting. It's like
Yeah.
a lot of folks are stuck home without a lot to do, so you're reading back issues because you don't have new issues coming out.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't know when we're going to get to Batman news. I mean, new Batman news, but I'm hopefully though. I read an article on Deadline is that the UK is starting to move towards reopening the TV and film business and allow films and television productions to start the resume production, and hopefully that'll be sometime this summer. I think that was what they're aiming for, but as of now, the Batman is still scheduled to be released on the 1st of October of 2021. So fingers crossed we don't get it pushed back to, I think next time, if and when it gets pushed back again, it's going to be into 2022, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think we talked about that maybe the last time I was on that. It just doesn't seem likely that this is going to land, into a Christmas spot. Batman feels pretty good for a fall release, and the timing throughout the calendar year doesn't matter as much as it used to. So I think it's just fine that wise. But if it's going to push again, probably pushes into next summer. My brother-in-law and my sister-in-law actually live in London, and in an area that they actually get a number of productions filming. I think Marvel's Eternals. You wouldn't have liked it, Bill. They sent me some spy pics. I didn't share them. But I did look at them myself, and I don't really care about Marvel's Eternals. But they had said some of the same stuff, not particularly around the entertainment industry opening up, but they've started to dial back some of the restrictions in London. So it would make sense that some of the stuff as far as these entertainment productions would be concerned would sort of follow suit. And hopefully that's because everybody is being safe and taking the right precautions, and we can get back on track with having some stuff to kind of turn our brains off and enjoy for a little bit in the near future.
Yeah, I know that they right when they went into their hiatus and shut down, they were about to film in Liverpool. Am I right on that?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, that was going to be outside stuff with the Batmobile and needed crowds. So I wonder, I mean, maybe when they get around to it, you can get away with crowds by CGI and in crowds. I mean, if it comes down to it,
everybody wears a green screen mask and they just go in and paint it in post, and there you go.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, I hope it makes that release date, but we'll see. We'll see. So we are gonna talk about the Batman a little bit because last week there was a big hoopla surrounding a GQ article that Robert Pattinson did, and the thing that got some folks panties in a knot was that he says he's not working out.
Right.
And let me read what he says, and then we'll discuss. The article said the film studio hired a trainer who left Pattinson with a Bonsu ball and a single weight. In a sincere plea to use both, but right now, Pattinson says, he's ignoring her. And he says, quote, "I think if you're working out all the time, you're part of the problem." even James Dean wasn't exactly ripped. No one was doing this back in the 70s. You set a precedent. And it goes on to say, he talks to the Zoe Kravitz, and she's working out 5 times a week, and he's just, and he says, literally, I'm just barely doing anything. So I don't know about you, Garret, because I've read some of his interviews, and I've seen him before do interviews, live video interviews, and he's a bit of a character and has a very dry sense of humor. And even the article says, it talks about that he likes to fuck with people. And the author contacted Chris Nolan and asked him about that. And Nolan says, yeah, he tends to fuck with people or something. I mean, I'm paraphrasing. So
it was that. I thought that was a great little bit, where, and of course that doesn't make the headlines, and that doesn't fit into the 140 character tweets or whatever else. So it's an interesting article. Like the whole thing, I was talking to Ryan Haas about this. Like the whole article is just kind of hilarious. Like this like portrait of Pattinson as this recluse, sort of like kind of a kooky guy going through isolation in the time of quarantine. But like the outrage that certain corners of social media spun into is kind of silly when you read the whole article, because further down, you mentioned some really good points, Bill, but it talks about him going for runs. This dude, he used to be at the height of the Twilight fame, it was always him and Kristen Stewart just like smoking cig after cig. It talks about how he's got Nicorette gum going and he's going on runs, and then it talks about a little bit of his diet. And he's got he's doing protein powder, oatmeal. He said he's eating like can after can of tuna fish with hot sauce. So like it doesn't even stay consistent throughout the article.
And
it's
there,
silly.
and there just happened to be a paparazzi pic taken of him the week before that article dropped. And I'm sure the article was done a little earlier than this picture, but it shows him, within the last 2 weeks running outside in London. And he's not in bad shape,
No, he's in great shape. He's not he's not like a super jacked bodybuilder, but it doesn't seem like that's what they're going for here, and that's just fine. We've had Batman, that wasn't super jacked before, and it didn't destroy the movie.
Yeah, and I pointed out that to people who were complaining that he is the size that Matt Reeves wants him to be. If Matt Reeves wanted him to be bigger, he would get bigger. And there are ways, training-wise, diet-wise, to get bigger if he wanted him that way. And then that's the truth of the matter. So I thought it was, when I read it, I said, he is clearly fucking with people. And, he goes on and he talks about, and part of it is, I think he's kind of taking a jab at these folks. And maybe, I don't know, you can comment. I don't know if you have the same interpretation, but he does comment that part of the reason why he is excited about the role is the challenge of it, and people telling him basically that you can't do it. He's not right for the part. He's too thin. He's the vampire, sparkly vampire from the Twilight films and whatever, and he's using that for motivation. So to me, it was just kind of like, I'm effing with this crowd, these naysayers. So any thoughts on that? Yeah.
It's sort of, we've tend to bring like weather into our conversations and a little bit of football into our conversations. It reminded me of a Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, player that goes after and wins games with a chip on their shoulder. They see something in the media that they don't, or they hear something that they don't like, and they use it as motivation, to go and get the win. So, it seemed kind of similar. I think, I don't know. We were on the Facebook group talking about this, and then I was talking to Eric Holtzman, our buddy Eric Holtzman, about this as well, and he was giving me some crap because he's like, "Yeah, you're one of those guys that's all worked up about him not working out." I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not really. I think it's silly that people get upset about this. I think it's equally kind of silly that Robert Pattinson continues to like, this is his goof with the media, you know, like it seems
Well,
a little silly to me.
Yeah, he is troll. He is trolling. It's just
Yeah.
just don't mince words here. I get your point as
And
well.
he can do whatever he wants. Like, this is kind of his deal. And, you know, I said, you know, I don't know if Warner Brothers is thrilled that he does it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think you said they probably don't care, and they
Yeah.
probably don't, right? But I'm just like, it's silly. It's silly on his part. It's way sillier for these people, you know, and we don't need to name names, but some other you know, fan cast webisode type guys are just losing their mind and
I was
acting.
going to bring that up. It's just
Okay, well, let's call it out.
I mean, it was. I'm not going to name any names, and
Sure.
I'm just going to say. I mean, it's been some of that. Just outrage. I mean, just looking at the camera with veins
Right.
popping out in your neck, saying, "Just give me your all. Just give me everything you got if you're going to play Batman." I can't believe you're not working. I mean, and part of me, I'm going, okay, these cats aren't that dumb.
No,
they're not that dumb.
No.
They've got to know that he's doing a bit, you know?
Right. Oh, they know, and they're complicit in, I think, the deterioration of civil discourse when it comes to fan topics, because you do that because you know, do the retweets and people are going to click on your link and you get your ad revenue. It's just silly. It's silly. And then, you know, it also just sort of like continues to make the issue. I think it's an issue. I'm not the first to say this, so this isn't a creative take at all, but like fandom, fanhood, I even kind of hate using those terms sometimes, has transitioned into this like ownership of mentality where I'm not just a fan of this thing. I now identify, part of my identity is that I am a fan of this thing, and I take on this like ownership thought process of, this is my thing and you need to appease me, and I demand, because I have some sort of mental ownership of that thing, you need to do things in a way that pleases me because it's mine, because it's my identity. That's so silly. That's so like just short. And how, you know, how much less enjoyment can you get out of things if you're only going to be happy when people do something exactly the way you have it in your mind?
It's not exclusive to comic book fandom. It's, you know, it's, I mean, I'm a huge sports fan, and you see it in sports fans, you know, football fans and so forth. But I mean, I'm with you. It's like that Robert Pattinson was doing something personal, negative, something personal to them that was completely negative, like just, you know, harmful to them.
Right.
And
apparently to their mental well-being, at least.
Yes. So look, this is the guy who talked about doing something to a dog to prepare for a scene in the lighthouse, you know, and said it with a straight face.
Oh yeah, that's true.
You know, so,
and he had to, and then you know, people bought it hook, line, and sinker to the point that he had to go back and say, hard. It's too good. No, I love animals. I didn't do such a thing.
Yes, when you have to point out, it takes the fun away. When you're being a smart ass and you're doing something, you know, a bit like that, when you got to explain it, it takes away the fun, you know. It's just, you know that you're not being serious, and even though you are kind of trolling, there is a level of, this is so ridiculous that there's no way that you can buy what I'm saying, you know what I mean? So I think it's much to do about nothing. We know that, look, this cat, he pursued the role. He wanted it so bad and had been wanting to play Batman for a while. So look, I've been a Batman fan for over 50 years. I don't remember not being a Batman fan. I did not take any offense at it. My suggestion is you shouldn't either if you're a Batman fan. Everything will be fine. We've had Batmans. I don't know how they correct.
Right. Yeah, which one?
It's not like Michael Keaton got jacked up for that role, or probably even worked out at all. Val Kilmer wasn't, you know, when he's in the Batcave, you know, he's not ripped as ripped can be. And, you know, Bale was in great shape, but he leaned down for The Dark Knight, you know, tremendously.
Right.
And he did so because Chris Nolan wanted him that size. He wanted him to be leaner and quicker for the new suit. So anyway, that's my final thought. I mean, you said it well as yourself. Any final word on the travesty of
Oh man, people just
Robert
gotta
Pattinson not
people gotta
working out?
no, people just gotta chill out. You know, there's enough things going on right now to be actually upset or concerned
And you know
about.
what else? I'm going to call bullshit on the trainer leaving him nothing but one dumbbell and a Bonsu ball as well, because
Right.
I exercise. You ain't much you're going to be doing with one Bonsu ball and one dumbbell. So that's even more. That's part of the bid as well. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on and talk about. Oh, I almost hate bringing this back up again, but it's came back, and I kind of want to I kind of make my stance clear, because I think there's a misinterpretation of how I feel about this. According to, and I hate using certain outlets because of their reputation, and I don't mean that as any offense, but I will have to give credit. Heroic Hollywood, which is owned by Humberto Gonzalez El Miambe from the Rap. An author posted the story, but there's a video that goes with it that is Humberto doing the reporting on it, not just voice wise. And essentially, it says that there's a chance that the Snyder Cut of Justice League will be released. And there's some behind the scenes stuff going on right now. And the fact that I'm bringing this up should tell you all you need to know about what I think of the rumor. Okay.
Right.
For me even to be mentioning. So take that for what you will. I just want to say this, and I'm not a businessman at all, but to me, it just makes no business sense for Warner Brothers, Time Warner, AT&T to spend approximately $20 million to finish a movie where the entire project, I mean, you're going to count the reshoots under Joss Whedon, you're going to throw in the budget in the first place, and then what it took into the box office. That film lost about $100 million. So you're already in the red there. And you're going to throw more money into it to finish it, to put it out on a streaming platform that how many people are going to actually buy the streaming format just to watch that? And even if they do, Garrett, are you going to recoup the money you've lost?
I can't imagine.
The film.
I can't imagine. And, you know, we've talked about the need for content and how this thing is schedules and TV channel stations and everything else.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the thing that's crazy. Is that really going to be the thing that it's not the viral campaign, it's the virus that might actually make this thing happen?
That was a great way to put it, that it's not the viral campaign, it's probably this virus, because, I mean, let's be honest, there's nothing. And if this thing is going to go to HBO Max, I mean, how do you pimp that? How do you promote that and get people excited when for Friends reruns and The Wizard of Oz and old Game of Thrones episodes and stuff like that? There's no new content. Is there? I mean, I'm just, from what I've been told, it's not launching with this huge amount of new content.
No, there's stuff that's in production or development, but like, what have you been able to produce? What have you, I mean, you've been able to develop things, but to put things in front of a camera, like that hasn't been able to happen.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. I mean, this thing's crazy.
I think it should have been launched with that. I don't care if it could have been DC properties, could have been that Green Lantern series that Jeff Johns is working on. It could be other stuff, you know? But besides that, here's where I stand. I personally, and I mean this with all sincerity, I couldn't care less if the movie comes out or not. I couldn't care less. I just don't. If you're one of those ones who want to see it, bless your heart. If it comes out, you got it. I just don't see any sense business-wise, nor do I see it makes sense from the point of you're moving on from this or from that era of DC on film, Man of Steel, BVS, Justice League, and you're getting away from it as far as possible, and then you're gonna drop this right in the middle of this moving on period of time. I mean, look, I'm not a movie executive either, you know, so.
Well, no, but I think you're right. I mean, I think about the same thing, and neither am I. So, full disclosure here, neither of us are making movies. But, it does seem strange that they're signaling that they want to move away. They've had success. Differences. Wonder Woman was back still in kind of in the thick of things, but like things are moving in a good direction. It feels like overall, Harley Quinn had its stuff, but whatever. And then it's sort of like, what's the worst thing that could happen here? Mm-hmm. What if it's received really, really well? What does the studio do then? Like, do you just say, okay, never mind, we're going to go back to this thing?
Yeah.
And then if it isn't received well, I mean, then what the hell's the point?
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel like the only winners here, if there are winners and losers, and I don't think there has to be, like if you really wanted to see this thing and this is your chance to see it, and you are one of the rational fans, because I know people, I interact with people, they want to see this thing and they're not some of the toxic fans.
Yeah.
Those people, good for them. Like, it's great for them. I also just kind of have this thing where I don't like to see poor behavior rewarded, and there's a lot of poor behavior out there. So it just stinks. It's just kind of a weird, goofy, crappy situation in general. But for those if it happens and it makes some people happy and they can be cool about it, then I'm happy for them.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I just want someone to tell me how this makes sense.
Right. I don't know. I can't think my way through that one.
I'm just an old football coach and teacher from Texas. Someone that needs to explain that to me that knows a little bit more. But look, if it comes out, we'll cover it on Batman on Film, and we'll cover it fairly and give different. We got to have someone on the team who's one of those who wants to see it, and I want to see their point of view. You wanted this. Here it is. What do you think? And let's tell us.
I feel like that's a great job for our pal Peter. He kind of takes the most, I don't know, it's not taking heat, but we get accused of being Nolanites a lot, right? But he is, I think Peter's kind of been, a bigger Snyder fan than maybe some of the rest of us. And I like Snyder. I think he's a great visual director and has made some great movies.
I think Zach is a talented dude. He has been cool with me every time I've met him. He allowed him and Warner Brothers, I should say, allowed Batman on Film to exclusively post the first in-theater poster for Justice League.
Yeah.
Back in April of 2017. I just not a fan of BVS. I'm not a fan of his vision on that. I borderline love Man of Steel. I've said that many times. I borderline love many. I think the travesty, the mistake was they should have went ahead and made a Man of Steel 2 instead of BVS, but that's a whole different conversation. And I would love it because I think it set it up perfectly. But they could have put on HBO Max more of Russell Crowe on Krypton flying around on giant dragonflies, and I'd sign up for service for that. At one point, I think someone brought up, could you do a Russell Crowe Jor-El movie on Krypton? I was like, hell yeah, I'd watch that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. I will say before we move on is that, and I've said this for a while. I would love for HBO Max to do Kingdom Come like they did Watchmen. I think it's perfect. I also threw out yesterday on Twitter, what about New Frontier? Do the New Frontier. So good. Miniseries,
In these, I think these, in these sort of stylized, highly stylized source material coming from different eras of, whether it's historical fiction, time frames with New Frontier, or just sort of like future Elseworld setting in DC Universe for Kingdom Come. Like, that's a great way to do it, because you don't have to really speak to the fact that this isn't tied into whatever, remaining connectivity there is between the feature films. It's its own thing, and you have different actors portraying it. And what I've always said for Kingdom Come, and I think New Frontier is just as valid because the artwork there is, you do this a little bit more mocap-y, and you go back and digitally paint to try and get that Alex Ross feel to it. And I think that could just be absolutely gorgeous. And that would be content. Yeah, I don't have HBO Max right now, but I couldn't sign up fast enough if they announced it.
I just think that Kingdom Come is just a perfect source material, just like Watchmen was for, of course, Watchmen on HBO was a sequel to the comic book, but still, if you took, even with the graphic novel, you could have made that a 6, 7, 8 part deal as well.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm more referring to the Watchmen that we saw on HBO. Yeah.
BOF's Ryan Lauer has only read Kingdom Come one time.
Really?
And I'm trying to get him to reread it, because I said he's kind enough to have me on an episode of his podcast. I think you're lined up to do that at some point, the Batman Book Club. And I said, when you reread this bad boy, I'd like to call dibs on this, because that's one you can sink your teeth into.
Yeah, look, I'm not a huge Justice League fan, never was, but I Kingdom Come, New Frontier, these are my 2 favorite Justice League stories. They're two of my favorite DC stories, period. And of course, I grew up, I did love Super Friends. So, I throw that in as far as one of the Justice League things I like. But, man, I'd love to see that. So maybe it'll happen one day. Maybe you never know.
That'd be great.
You could do Dark Knight Returns like that, as well. Or Red Sun. I know we just had the animated movie, but some of these Elseworld type stories, not even just the Elseworld stuff, just some of those, classic graphic novel, longer stories are great for that. So
I think about from a production standpoint, the storyboards are all done, and I know I like the inspired by a little bit more, but some of these classics like Kingdom Come, I'd love to see that, sort of more along the lines of, animated, and we're talking live action here, but like the Dark Knight Returns animated movies 1 and 2 were so great. And they tweaked some stuff, the voiceovers weren't there or weren't there in the same ways, which was different enough to give it its own unique feel, but very, very faithful. It could be great. I wish they'd do more of that. It seems like that they've got the IP. It's ripe for the picking.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, we'll move on out of here. With that, you mentioned the Batman Book Club from Ryan Lauer. I am going to be recording an episode this Thursday with him on a graphic novel that I actually got him to read for the first time, because he asked me when he was setting all this his podcast up. What books would you recommend that were kind of not necessarily obscure, but are not like super famous graphic novels? And I said,
can I guess?
Yes.
Are you going to do Year 100?
We're at Year 100. Yes.
Yes. I know that's one of your favorite, like a little bit more, not everybody's read it. It's not always on everybody's pantheon of must-read Batman
Absolutely.
stories.
And so he got it and he read it, and we're going to do that. In fact, we're going to do it sooner, but like last summer, I packed up my whole office, all my comic books and all my stuff have been in boxes, and now we're moving. And so last weekend, I'm starting to set up my new office. I had posted some pictures, and I got all my comic books out. And
you had some 90s gems in there too, by the way, Bill. I was looking through those pics, man. That's great.
Dude, I've got about 12 totes I got to go through.
Nice.
They're all bagged and boarded. I don't know what's in there. I haven't been some of the ones I pulled out, like Superman 75, Death of Superman, and Batman 500 from back then when when Azrael took over fully for Bruce Wayne. I've had them out just to have kind of displayed, but there's some stuff in there I got to go. I think I have the whole Nightfall saga.
That's great. It's like going back and going through the warehouse at the end of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Who knows what's in there? Right?
I found one picture. I found 2 Batman Spider-Man team up comic books.
Nice.
There was one that was produced by Marvel, and the other one was produced by DC. Same thing. Batman Spawn. Do you remember that?
I sure do.
Okay.
Yep. And then one's Image and one was DC.
Yes. I found 2 DC versus Marvel like Avengers versus Justice League stuff. And
was that from when they did that amalgamation 90s
no,
storyline when they did the
but I found the amalgamation. I found Nightclaw.
Nice.
Remember Nightclaw?
That's what I was going to ask. Batman,
I found
Wolverine.
Nightclaw in there.
Oh yeah.
I found some stuff from Valiant Comics. I don't know if you remember Valiant Comics.
I sure do.
I had
Harbinger and
I had Ninjak comics. I had in there.
Ninjak.
Yeah.
And it was trying to think of some of the other. Was Cadillacs and Dinosaurs? Was that I think that was a Valiant one back in the day.
I don't know.
Or was that a Nintendo game? What am I thinking of? I don't know.
But so I may even do a video segment of me going through some of these comics and going, all right, let's see what's in here, because
people are bored. They need the content built.
I'll do
it for the people.
We'll do it together and see what the hell's in there. I've got some of those, and this is before your time, because this was in the 70s. They used to print these big, oversized DC comic books like I got several with Batman. They would reprint stories, and I got to show those as well. So,
you saying that, I just brought back this memory. We had a big, oversized, I don't remember what it was, Justice League or Superman or something. When I was a kid, my dad brought home, and it was like this giant thing, and it was reprinted as a coloring book. So you opened it up, and there were no colors, but it was like this thing was probably grown man wingspan wide when you opened it up. Man, that just brought me back out of nowhere. I haven't thought of that thing.
I just saw something else I found
years.
in there. I don't know if you remember how much you read Marvel or I read Spider-Man. So I was a Spider-Man guy, but do you remember the Ben Reilly
Sure
Spider-Man
do. Clone Saga?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I got that in there somewhere. Yeah, I got the whole Clone Saga.
I got a copy of the holograph sensational Spider-Man #1 someplace with the new costume, and Peter. I can't remember if at that point Peter was actually Ben or Ben was actually Peter, and he dyed his hair blonde and went off on his own. And,
got it. I got it in there. Yeah, man. I got Spawn #1. I got some stuff in there. I'm excited. I caught myself into. I'm gonna go in there in a little while, start going through stuff.
Heck
Superman. Yeah. I mean everything. All right. Anything you want to plug before we go?
I got nothing to plug. To plug. If you want to follow me on Twitter, that'd be great. I'm at Garret, WATO, GARRET, WATO. In June, I'll start reviewing comic books again. Hopefully we have an NFL season. If you like football like Bill and I do, I cover a lot of fantasy football stuff on my page, or account, I should say. So yeah, check me out. Otherwise, nothing right now.
Speaking of football, I have my Gotham Rogues shirt, and this. I
saw just the top, and I was going to ask you before we left.
I got this, Rogues. And this one I got at the Steelers Stadium in Pittsburgh when I was on my set visit for Dark Knight Rises.
That's so awesome.
And Emma Thomas gave me this while I was sitting in the press box watching the football field blow up. Watch Bane blow up the football field. I watched that was cool. So anyway, I decided to put it on today just to have something Batman on. I saw it hanging in the closet and said, yeah, I'm going to wear my Gotham Rogues thing. So
there you go.
All right. Follow me on Twitter at Batman on Film. And like I said, I'll be on the upcoming episode of Ryan Lauer's Batman Book Club talking Batman 100, year 100, I should say. All right. So Batman on Film, Garrett, authoritative, definitive.
The dadgum original.
All right. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.